Adrian, 20-plus minutes left for Perea and his side to learn, to grow. It's only your third game in the MLS season. Get something positive out of it next 20 minutes.
Are you seeing evidence, Taylor, of this new flavour, this new style they talked about, moving away from Gary Smith's more direct approach?
Well, it's hard not to think if Connor Casey's on the field, Jeff Larentowicz, Pablo Mastroeni, if those guys are on the field, this 4-3-3 could be something special. But today, early mistakes just really cost them in that first half, and New York buried it.
It's almost like the Red Bulls have been waiting for today to finally put all the pieces into place. They're not all here yet either, with Luke Rogers and Juan Agudelo still out of the picture at the moment. Henry doing the digging in to great effect. Solly. Limper. Red Bulls hovering around the Rapids penalty area again with real intent. Miller. They're in this sort of mood, in this sort of groove, and they are a team that's living up to billing. Marquez got there first, little exuberance, but Richards again, frustratingly, just behind the last defender. Moore. Tony Cassio. Not that far from where he played college with UConn. That has been a precious little joy for the Rapids front runners. Hans Backer. That seat not looking quite as hot right now, and what lies ahead for him and the Red Bulls. It's Montreal here next week, the expansion team. At Columbus, home against San Jose, and then a couple of other Eastern Conference foes.
Well, you look at all 5 of those games, those are winnable. When you talk about the hot seat for Hans Backer, you can quickly put some water on that hot seat real quick with those 5 games, particularly at home. But you're going to look at the scoreline, and MLS fans are going to see 3-0. It must have been an offensive blowout, but it's really the defensive shape of New York that's been a lot cleaner and more efficient today, making life difficult for Colorado.
Yeah, the clean sheet will be prized just as much as the goal scoring if they can keep it. Another awkward moment here for Rafa Marquez, who has been booked, remember.
Right, it's got to be smart. You have to think that Hans Backer is thinking, let's take Rafa Marquez off the field.
Well, can they build up points early on, as they did last year? Remember, the Red Bulls got off that great start and then that horrible swoon in the middle of the summer, which Hans Backer has not been shy about blaming on the CONCACAF Gold Cup and other international commitments that took so many of his players away. He says they're not going to have that distraction this year. So no excuses, I guess.
No excuses, but more importantly, it's Kim Marquez. He raced last year, come in, and we've seen it 70-plus minutes today. He's done a good job, been a positive influence, been effective. I mean, a lot last year was talked about Rafa Marquez and what's his position and the winning streak they went on when he wasn't in the lineup, and then they couldn't win a game, any game that he started in. So really, can Marquez come into this team, find that partner in Dax McCarty in the midfield, and allow Thierry Henry to be the center forward that he can be?
Mullen with his free kick for the Rapids. Out comes Mera to claim it in the crowd. He's had such a genteel home opener. Can't have been expecting this, but that was a piece of work for him there. By Mera, the Red Bulls' only draft pick this year. The the son and a grandson of a New York fireman. And he wasn't sure he was going to make the grade. He had actually signed up for the New York Fire Department, Taylor, for this spring.
He should just sign up as Larry Bird's doppelganger.
Mary's had to live with that particular comparison since he was about 8, apparently.
I mean, holy cow.
He's actually still at school, believe it or not, doing spring classes at Fordham on the edge of his penalty area there. Took a calculus exam this past week.
I mean, tell me that's not Larry Bird. New York's got to give him 33. Kenny Cooper's got to get rid of that number.
Played a lot of high school basketball.
I mean, it keeps getting better.
So it helped a lot with his agility as well. How'd you like that, from a calculus exam to a Red Bulls home opener in the space of a couple of days?
Ryan just better hope his...
He's got his angles worked out.
I was going to say, better hope his professor... teacher's not a Red Bulls fan, because the first 2 weeks that might have been ugly.
Offside flag here against Omar Cummings, who's had slim pickings, to say the least. Next week, or rather our next MLS broadcast is in a couple of weeks, Saturday, April the 7th. David Beckham, Landon Donovan, the LA Galaxy visiting one of the best arenas in the league, Livestrong Sporting Park in Sporting Kansas City. Saturday, April the 7th, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN. Do hope you can join us.
For those wondering about my Words with Friends game with Landon, I'm now losing.
That didn't take long.
No.
Now, McCarty on the prowl inside the penalty area. Couldn't reach it. Sporting Kansas City, by the way, with the final game of the weekend against Dallas. It's a 7 p.m. Eastern kickoff. And they've started 2-0. They will perhaps be the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. Can the Red Bulls match them?
And that's why the next 5 games for the New York Red Bulls are so important, because the way Sporting KC looks early on in this season, it's their Eastern Conference to have.
Houston suffering their first loss against Seattle on Friday night. And Drew Moore trying to shake off a mistimed tackle. He's got the evidence. That one's got to hurt.
And as a new head coach in Oscar Pereira, this is where you can learn a lot about your players. 3-0 on the road with 15, 18 minutes. What are their reactions? Are they still competing? You can learn a lot about your players in the next 15, 17 minutes.
Tyrone Marshall driving it in there, untouched, through to Ryan Mera. Marshall can feel a little aggrieved with that. Might have expected someone to get on the end of that service. Now stolen away, and Cummings has options, goes for the chip, and it's a beauty! Omar Cummings! And he sparks a glimmer of hope here for the Colorado Rapids. Jamaican ending his own particular run of games without a goal. This is how it happened.
No, and this is what happens. Rafa Marquez gets caught, but Omar Cummings in a good spot. The moment that ball turns over, finds some space. But again, New York feeling comfortable. Rafa Marquez takes way too many touches in the middle of the field. And Omar Cummings picks that head up. Good finish.
Rediscovering the scoring touch. Jamaican Omar Cummings, and has he reignited this game as a contest? It seemed to be slipping away from the Rapids rather quietly. They're going to make some noise in the last 13 minutes or so. Make the Red Bulls work for their 3 points.
And I said it in the first half, Adrian. The fact is, when Omar Cummings, I said, needs a lot of chances, well, guess what? He gets one today and finishes it, buries it. That's a huge confidence builder for Omar Cummings without Connor Casey to get a goal. Good finish.
Goal in the playoffs against Columbus for Cummings, but other than that, only one in his previous 26 regular season starts. But off the mark for this year. Can the Red Bulls very quickly extinguish the flickering flame just lit by the Rapids? Is Solly with his cross. It's going to go all the way through to Limper. McCarty. It's an angled pass for Henry to work with. Spin and a turn from him, but nothing doing.
It's the quick, pick the head up, bend it, solid finish. Ryan Meara coming out, thinking that Omar Cummings is probably going to take him with that amount of space one-on-one, but the quick trigger, good finish.
It's goal number 34 of Cummings' MLS career. Here he is on the ball, teeing it up as well. Quite arrived, and he had a clean look at it. Didn't hit the shot cleanly enough to trouble Ryan Meara.
This game's not over. New York better wake up and wake up quickly here.
Win to Kimura. Now Drew Moore. Mullen around the back. Amarikwa is through here. Quincy Amarikwa couldn't take it in his stride. And Ryan Meara has a right to be asking questions of this previously so solid New York defense, which suddenly seems to be springing a few leaks.
They've lost their shape, and this first touch lets Amarikwa down. If he uses the inside part of his left foot, he can pull the trigger, have a hit, but Hans Baca, make a sub. Change the game out right now because New York's lost their shape.
He's notoriously reluctant, isn't he, to make substitutions. As Richards tries to test Marvell Wynn, that's an interesting race. Still, Wynn is the one to win it. Played 29 games for the Red Bulls in 2006. Then Richards, who's climbing up the all-time appearance leader list here in New York. Now 5th all-time. His 6th year with the team. Well, they've put up the voting for the man of the match here in the stadium. I can tell you that Thierry Henry is the clear winner, but Ryan Meara is in second. Those 400 or 500 fans he's got from Yonkers, certainly making their presence felt. Inside the final 10 minutes, Red Bulls in search of their first points of the season. Look to be in cruise control. For Marcus's mistake to gift Omar Cummings a lifeline, rather reminiscent of the early era by LeBeau, which gave Henry the chance. Richards on the move here, snuffed out by Tyrone Marshall. There's some activity on the New York bench just out of your picture. Looks like Mehdi Belushi is warming up. Solly's cross. Kimura there to meet it. Castrillon away. Well, one more Rapids goal. And really put matters into the melting pot, and they're in search of it here. Cummings motoring forward. Couldn't engineer a way around Roy Miller, who stood his ground. Don't forget, you can follow all of us on Twitter throughout this MLS season. You can check out Taylor Twellman at Taylor Twellman.
That's right.
Alexi Lalas at Alexi Lalas, surprisingly enough. Monica Gonzalez is Monica Gonzo. As Mullen. Now, there was an opportunity to shoot there, which he declined. I'll just finish that up. At Monica Gonzo.